Okay, for this project, this is number 5.4, and I did not rename my file up here, but just know that this is the file that I am going to edit. This is our start file. Please remember when you're inside your project, you need to go to this resource file. There's an actual photo here. So when you click on this, it's automatically going to go to your downloads folder. And then you can click down here on the corner, but if you don't, just make sure you're in your file management area and click on the word downloads. And when you see the file here, the 5.4 resources, you're going to double click to go inside of it, and you want to continue double clicking to go inside of it. And once you get to your final point, you'll see WHES. That's the actual photo. And you'll click on it one time, right click, and select cut, because you want to cut it out. And then click on the word downloads again over here to the left, and anywhere on the right side in a white space once you're inside downloads, just right click and select paste. Okay, so going back to the project, so we're going to use that at one point. So the first thing I want to mention to you is about the concept of grouping. If you notice these sheets, we've learned previous assignments, if you right click over top of a sheet, you can move or copy. So you can copy and duplicate it and recycle it for other purposes. So you'll see cash flows and these next three sheets here, they're exactly the same except for different fill colors have been placed, and then the values are different, but the template itself is the same. So whenever you want to make an editing change, we've learned that we can edit a range, but you can also edit multiple worksheets at one time. So of this worksheet, we're going to do two things. We're going to take this and we're going to center it across for all four of these in one shot. And the second thing is we're going to take this word, and the word is in A10. So you'll see where it says promotion, and we're going to change that to marketing. Now we're going to apply that again. That change is going to occur on all of these because you can see promotions there, promotions there. So we're going to make the change, the editing changes within one shot. So to do that, you need to group your worksheet. So you go to your keyboard. At the bottom left-hand corner, the CTRL, which is your control key, you hold that down, and with your mouse pointer, you start clicking on the second, the third, and the fourth worksheet. And as I did it, you can see these colors disappear. And if I right-click, you'll see I even have the ungroup command. It shows that they're all grouped. So now I'm going to go up to, so now I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the range per our set of instructions. And like we've learned in the previous chapters, I'm just going to open up my dialog box. Underneath the horizontal, I'm going to center across the selection. Now that change has been applied to all four of these worksheets. Now I'm just going to go down to A10 and I'm going to double click, and I'm just going to highlight the word promotion and just replace it with marketing once I press enter. Now those changes have been applied, and I'm just going to go ahead and right click over top of my worksheet names, and I'm going to ungroup the sheets. Now I'm going to go back to my first one, which is cash flows. Now I'm going to show you number 5, but I'm going to jump down to number 8 because I just want to quickly show you how to insert this picture, and then we're going to talk about consolidation, which is chapter 5, and I'll explain that here in a second. So they ask you to go up here to A1, and remember, ungroup your worksheets before you do this, because now we're working only on cash flow, which is our first one. And I'm going to go up here and delete A1, get rid of that text. And I know they're going to ask us, and I'm going to right click over the number 1 so I can go to the row height. And I know they're going to ask us to change the height to 86.25. So I'm going to go ahead and increase that. And they ask us to just position right here, and then we're going to go to the Insert, Tab, Pictures, Command button. And then we're going to go to our Downloads folder. Now if you don't see this populate at the top, if you click on Date Modified, it'll populate your most recent on top. So I'm going to highlight that and click on Insert. And there's my photo. Now that it's inserted, the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to the height, and I'm going to take it down to 1.2 per our set of instructions. And then I'm going to move it. Now make sure you're in between these bubbles and you're on this borderline, and you convert your mouse pointer so it's a draggable image. So I'm going to drag it up here in this corner and get it as close as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's where it should be positioned. So now let's go and start talking about consolidation. So consolidation is just the same thing if you went out one day and you went to the grocery store and you went to the gas station, maybe you went to a clothing store, and each place you spent a particular amount of money. So you get home at the end of the day and you add all those up to see how much you spent for that day. So you're consolidating your information. So we're going to do the same thing in terms of worksheets. You can see we're going to do a static on this cash flow, and this very last one, which is maximum. Then I'm going to show you a dynamic, and I'll explain the difference between the two. Now the first one, this cash flow, we're going to go ahead and consolidate information using sum function. And it's these three inner worksheets is where we're retrieving our data. So it's the same thing like gas station, clothing store, I don't know, maybe you got an oil change. So these are the three different worksheets. So you can see when we're clicking on them, the data, the way it's lined up, it's exactly the same except for the numbers are different. So we're going to add them up and return them all to this one worksheet, which is labeled as cash flow. Now when it's static consolidation, it means that once you consolidate it, there's your numbers. It will remain the same. But if it's dynamic, it becomes linkable data. So when the original data changes, this maximum sheet will update also. So I'll show you the difference between the two. The first one, it's just a matter of checking the box, meaning down here where it says create a link to the source. So when we create a static, we will not check that box, and we're going to use the sum function. However, when we go to the maximums worksheet down here at the end, and we open consolidate up, then I'll make sure these are all out, and I'll explain that in a minute. And then this time we'll use the maximum function, and you have to make sure this is checked. If you don't check this box, you're going to have to end up deleting this worksheet out and replacing it with from your start file. And I'll show that at the end if you have to recover this particular worksheet. So let's go ahead and start with a static consolidation. So we're going to go to our data tab. We're going to use this consolidate button. So we're going to highlight the range. That's where we're going to return everything once we sum them up. So we highlight, this is the range. We go to consolidate. We want the sum function. Now we're going to start telling it where to grab these totals. So we're going to go to this very first, the second worksheet in. You can see there's the worksheet name populated. We're going to click and drag from B4 to B12, and we're going to add it. Now it's down there. Now you can click on the next one over, which is Champaign. You can see this time it just self-populates for you. You add it, and then you go lastly to Rockford. It's sitting there. Now you can add it. Now you see all three of them there, and you select OK, and there you go. Now not everything has a total amount in it, so you will have some empty cells. So let's go ahead and start that down here. Now we're going to work with this group down here. Now when we go to open up our consolidate button, we've got to get rid of these old references. We've got to clear those out. One by one, we'll delete those. Then position back in references, and let's start the process again. You can see I went to the second sheet over, but scroll down and get the correct range. This time it's 15 to 21. I'll add that. I'll click on the next sheet over, which is Champaign. It self-populates. I add it. And then I go to Rockford, and there's Rockford, and I add it. Now I have all three of them down here in my references. And once I select OK, you can see it brings my totals back. And again, not everything's going to have a total. And then lastly, we're going to go down here to B24, and we're going to consolidate one last time. So delete all three of these out. Once they're deleted, let's reposition it in references, and we'll go over to the second sheet. You can see it grabs the name. We only want one cell location this time. We're only grabbing B24. So I add that one, click on Champaign. You can see it self-populates. I add that. And now I'm going to go to Rockford. You can see that has self-populated, and I'm going to add it. Now I have all three of those worksheets, and I select OK, and there you go. You can see 113,564 has returned. Okay, so that was the static. Now let's go over to maximums, and if that one was number 5 in your set of instructions, and when we go to do our dynamic, this one's number 9. So again, I just kind of skipped around a little bit. Now when we use our dynamic, make sure you're down here on the maximums worksheet, and we're going to work with this range first. We're going to go over to consolidate, and we got to make sure it's the max function and make sure this box is checked. I'll Okay, and then we're going to reposition here in references, and we'll start with this same worksheet. And this range this time, again, going to 4 to 12. So there you go. We got to add it. Go to the next worksheet. You can see it self-populates, add, and then last one, which is Rockford, and add. So now we have all three down here. We have the max function, and we have our box checked, so it's linkable data. And we select OK, and it returns. Now you can see it's in outline mode because it's just showing you that out of these three numbers, this is the maximum number, which you can see visually it is. Okay, so now let's go and deal with this section down here. Go back to consolidate. Let's get rid of all these old ones here. So now that they're out, let's reposition here in references. We'll go to the second sheet here, never cash flows, the second one in. Let's go down to that range now. And then we're going to add that one. And we go to the next one. You can see self-populates, add. Click on Rockford, self-populates, and just add. So once we have all this information, we select OK, and you can see that value has been returned also. Now the last thing I'm going to show you is these three inner worksheets. I'm going to show you how that we're going to create a hyperlink, so no matter what of these three worksheets you're on, whenever you click on the link, it will automatically populate this maximums worksheet. So let's go ahead and start creating that. So they want you to create that in D3. If you have a hard time eyeballing it up, just go up here to the name box, type D3, press enter, and it will activate this cell. So if you go to the insert tab, and if we go over to hyperlink, we activate that. Now we're going to go to the second one here, place in the documents, and again we want this maximum worksheet, this green tab, so highlight that, and we want the link to read, so when we see it, it's going to read as company maximum, so you have to type that in, so company maximums. And then once you have this, and this done, and we want to, once it's activated, it's okay just to go directly to A1. You select OK, here's our link. Now, if you click on it, it should automatically default you to this worksheet. Once you know it's good, go ahead and I would right-click to copy it, and then go to Champagne, and you want to go ahead and place it, and make sure you pay attention that you get these all in D3. When you click there, make sure you see D3 here, because that could be an error. And then you can go ahead and right-click and select Paste. And then you want to do the same thing on Rockford. Make sure you're on D3, just double check up here, and then right click and select Paste. And that's pretty much for this, this project. Best of luck.